Right now we're going to do type 2 binary nomenclature practice sheet number 2. This is problem number 9. So again, when we do the naming of a type 2, we have to figure out what the charge of the metal is, because if you remember, if we go to our packet, we can see that typically the metal will be somewhere in this blue area where it may have multiple charge, or where it does have multiple charges. And so we got to figure out what the charge is in that particular compound. Remember, the compounds are ionic, so they are balanced. So if we go back to the problem itself and we look at it and we see Mn2s. So if we go to our periodic table, we see Mn is magnesium, or excuse me, manganese. So it's manganese. And if we go to our other page, it's right in here. So it is in that blue section. So let's go back to the problem. We know that it's manganese. We know that there's 2 of them. We know that there's 1 sulfur. One thing that we do know is the charge of the sulfur, but we have to figure out the charge of the metal, or in this case, manganese. So let's go ahead and look at S. S again on our periodic table is right over here. We notice that it is sulfur. It's in column 6A. So if I go over here, we see sulfur is a -2. Now again, if I go back to the periodic table, we know that it's in group 6A, which means it needs 2 more electrons in order to get to its full electron configuration of that of a noble gas. So it's going to take 2 electrons, which means it's going to be a -2. So go back to the problem. We're going to put a -2 over top of the sulfur. Well, since I only have 1 sulfur, I know that my total charge for sulfur is a -2 times 1 is a -2. Well, what that means is that my total charge for the manganese has to be a +2, because remember, they have to be equal but opposite. So now what we're going to do is, since that's the total charge for all of the manganese, but I have 2 manganese, so if I take +2 divided by the 2 manganese that I have, that gives me the charge up here for manganese. Okay, and that charge is now going to be +1. So +1 times 2 is +2. -2 times 1 is -2. So now we have it balanced. So now we just have to write out its name. So manganese, so we're going to write out manganese. And we had to put a Roman numeral, and that's going to be a Roman numeral number 1. And then we're going to put sulfur, but we have to change, remember, we have to change the ending to "ide", so it'll be sulfide. So there we go. We just answered question number 9 from practice sheet number 2 of the type 2 binary nomenclature. Hey, as always, go Mohawks. Nelson out.